Should I wait for Steve or no? Can you all hear us at all?
Yes.
Okay, well, we can go ahead and call roll. With us by Zoom are Kevin Martinez, Judy Wheeler, Shelley McIntyre, and Chris Davis. Can you all hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing none of this. And here in person are Ron Thomas and myself, Jim Stone. We have 6 more than 12. And supporters for staff is Megan Howe. I'm sorry. Amy Howe, and soon to be Steve Bachmiller. So we're waiting for him to talk about the Nicodemus bill.
Where did you get this down? I think I hear.
And usually hear him by his footsteps. And there he is.
There he is. Okay, we call the roll, and we got 6.
Okay.
And Steve, I guess you're up with Nicodemus bill.
Okay. You just stand by for 1 second. Okay, we have a representative from Kimberly Warren here today, regarding a site plan that we anticipate will be submitted soon for a small parking lot behind the Nicodemus house. This was added to your agenda. We sent out an email that had this drawing, so those of you who are zooming in should have access to it. But basically, it's where the old motel structure was, where the city purchased the property, tore it down. The city has sold the property. It's under current redevelopment for apartments and an office space on the first floor. They're looking to install a parking lot in the back, what else in the backyard. The reason why we're here today is for a couple of reasons. One, the zoning ordinance requires a standard site plan for any development over 5,000 square feet. This development area is a little over that, like 6,500 or something like that square feet roughly. But there's no buildings, there's no utilities of any consequence, no major stormwater management. And our thought was that requiring a full site plan would be overkill in this situation. We encourage them to request that you all approve them to use the minor site plan process, which is a smaller list of requirements on the plan. Those are generally reserved for developments between 500 to 5,000 square feet. The difference would be is typically a minor site plan is approved by staff. This site plan will still come to you, but what you're doing is you're allowing them to use a simpler site development standard and application form rather than the whole full-blown standard process. We've done this occasionally before in similar situations.
Is everybody okay with using the minor site plan process?
Yes.
No construction going up, just the parking lot. Is that correct?
The parking lot will be constructed. There's a small amount of stormwater management along the one side property line, but it's essentially it's a 8 or 9 space parking lot is what it is. And you will see the final product. It wouldn't be approved by staff, so it would be just like it came to you as a normal site plan. It would just be a simpler drawing.
So the letter off of Wareham Allen and then from Allen, Washington, Malibu properties.
Correct. So that's the first issue. The second issue is that for for any parking lot over 7 spaces requires compliance with the landscaping requirements of the ordinance. This one deviates from that significantly, but necessarily because of the unique circumstances associated with the narrowness of the property, its location along a side street. So there's going to be a fair amount of deviation from the parking lot landscaping standards on this one. So what we're looking to do is have them actually propose, use what we call the alternate landscaping plan. It's just by the time we go through itemize parking lot landscaping standards, there's no way this would apply. We know that circumstances dictate that it wouldn't apply. So what we would do is we would work with them on what's called an alternate landscaping plan. They're showing a horizontal metal fence between parking spaces and the sidewalk. There is landscaping in the stormwater management area along the east side property line. We'll probably work with them to do a little bit on the landscape island toward the back alley. This is stuff that we can work out at the staff level. But we want to make sure you saw this plan and see if you were generally okay with it. We'll work out the details with them when they come forward with the minor site plan. I mean, it's one of those things where it is what it is. There's just so much you can do with this site when it comes to creating a parking lot on a lot so narrow. But in general, are you generally okay with this layout and work out the details with it? And also, FYI, this isn't a historic district. HTC is scheduled to also review this at their meeting tomorrow. So they may have some comments on it. I think they're going to be fine with it. But are you generally okay with this overall layout, even though it has significant deviations from the parking lot landscaping requirements?
How much is that area off of Prospect going to be cut out to get this parking lot to work? Because the old way it would work, the area on top Prospect Street was wide enough for an actual car to fit under there.
Back then, the cars, if I remember correctly, came in straight off Prospect Street.
Right.
Right to access, not by a driveway. Here you're dealing with a situation with the car plus a driveway access to provide access to them.
So what I'm saying is, in other words, the area that used to be where the cars parked for the hotel, is that going to remain the same width? Or are they going to cut some of that away to get the parking area that they're talking about putting in?
What do you mean cutting away?
Okay. If you're walking down Prospect and the hotel is here,
Right.
there's a flat area that goes out and drops off.
It drops off closer to the other side property line.
Okay.
Yeah, it's relatively flat closer to the street, and then it drops off
Right.
significantly as you get over more toward Blue Myers Drive.
Okay.
So, and that's going to be where most of your top traffic changes to be. That's where your stormwater management's going to be because water flows downhill.
Okay.
But where you see the cars spaces here, these angle car spaces, is roughly where the parking spaces were for the motel.
Okay. That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at.
It's just that instead of accessing straight off of Prospect Street into those parking spaces like you did before, here there's going to be an actual drive aisle through the back of the interior of the site,
Okay.
providing access. Anything you want to add to this?
No, I think you covered everything. Yeah, the parking lot we have is kind of restricted by the width, like Steve was saying. Yeah, so we, drive out on the eastern side, that way you can back out and, pull around and look left and right before you pull out to the street. So other than that, I think Steve covered everything.
Okay, Tammy, how do you feel about it? You okay with it?
Well, actually, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I should vote because I work for Widmeyer right beside it. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it because I'm parking, we're getting all the runoff from the construction that's happening right now. There've been nails and tires. And so I'm just kind of wondering, I can't wrap my head around, I've been there and I've looked at it. I just don't know how they're gonna put a parking lot right there. So I don't know how I feel about this.
I can answer that. Keith from Kimley Horn. I don't think I'm on the video, but I know one thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to do sediment controls on the downhill side of the property. So there would be no runoff onto the adjacent property. And then also with our stormwater management, today it's just, running off to the east side of the site. But when we come in there, we'll propose some more management devices to capture our site and then to route it or infiltrate it appropriately, hitting all the standards that the state requires.
Okay,
So
thanks.
there should be no runoff onto the adjacent site that's occupied by.
I'm not gonna say there won't ever be runoff, but we're gonna capture our required amount that we have to, we have to treat so much stormwater for our ESD, for our water quality, and we'll take that amount of runoff, infiltrate it or convey it as needed.
Right now, it's an uncontrolled situation. It's essentially a gravel lot, and if rain goes on it and it slopes downhill, it will go over toward Whit Myers. Here, they're putting in stormwater management, 10 feet along the property line, which will, like you said, capture it. It'll be essentially a shallow trench of sorts.
That's correct, yeah.
With landscaping in it, which will capture, it should capture just about any runoff that comes off the site once it's developed with a lot.
So you're saying that this should improve the situation that exists there now?
Absolutely. Yeah, with our stormwater management devices, we're definitely going to improve the situation. I don't want to say there will be never no runoff, as a large storm comes through, 100-year, a 50-year event. There will obviously be runoff for that type of event, but your typical storms will be taking that and either infiltrating it or conveying it appropriately.
And the city engineer's office will be reviewing stormwater management as well, so.
Does that help answer your concerns?
Yep.
Judy, Chris, how do you all feel?
I'm okay.
Yep, okay.
And Shelley was here.
Yeah, she's been coming in and out, having trouble joining. I'm sure it's something on her end, but I've met her a couple times. And then she's joined us a couple different accounts and he's got figured out. I'm not sure what's going on.
Ron, are you okay with the concept?
I'll wait till I see the actual plan, come in and see how the water is going to be directed. But it sounds like they're planning on doing the right thing. But I'll wait till I see that. See how it's going to be delivered.
I'm okay with the concept, but I agree with Ron. I mean, this may all, in the end, depend on the details. And right now, we're basically saying nobody has any real complete heartburn about the concept, but we still have to see the site plan.
So they're going to be paying close attention to the issue of the stormwater.
Yeah, and that's something we can take care of definitely with the site plan. I assume a minor site plan, we go through that process and we'll have details for our stormwater management. And then we'll also have like how it's being conveyed and, we'll have all the comps to indicate that. And then also with it, we'll have a sediment control plan that will, it'll treat any kind of runoff while the construction's happening. So there won't be any sediment water or any, dirty water leaving the site.
And if there's any problems with city engineer's office and their review, we'll definitely pick up on it. So. Okay.
All right, does that take care of this then? Is that, you just want a general idea of whether this concept is acceptable? It sounds like nobody's saying no to it.
And did we get an actual vote on allowing them to move forward with Myers side fence?
Oh, no, we can do that. Would anyone like to make a motion that to allow them to move forward on the basis of the minor site plan requirements?
I'll make that motion to be allowed to move forward on the minor site plan. Requirements.
Is there a second?
Second, this is Chris.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay, you're done.
All right, perfect. Thank you for your time.
thank you. We're looking at total properties here.
And before we get started on that, for those of you who are zooming in, about an hour and 20 minutes ago, we sent out an email with some exhibits. Did everybody get those?
yes,
I got them, Steve, but I didn't have a chance to look at it.
That's fine. And for those of you who are here in person, I've printed all hard copies for you.
I didn't see these.
And Megan, well, they literally just came through about an hour ago. I'll give you some background on it.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay.
This is the first thing.
Yeah, it was the first.
You took over the.
Okay.
the journey.
So we received the annexation petition from the property owner for Unger Farm, which is 1302 Virginia Avenue. It's around 115 acres, and the proposed city zoning would be residential moderate density to ensure no conflict with the county zoning, which is residential urban or RU. The contract purchaser plans to do a single-family detached residential development. And then I think we are planning to present this to mayor and council on Tuesday. And then they will introduce the resolution and approve the annexation plan on April 26th, and then have a public hearing. So I attached the annexation plan and the plat. Do you have any questions about that first, maybe, before we get into the additional information?
Hearing none, I'm going to give you a little bit of additional background of what transpired today, but I want to be very clear that it really doesn't change anything. This is more background for future development of the site. The annexation is moving forward, annexing the entire property, which is required. You can't just annex part of the property, and the Armada zoning is staying in place. So it will move forward. What happened today is we got a phone call from Frederick at Frederick Cyber Associates regarding some ideas that they had, discussions they've had around the edges of the property. After a lengthy conversation with Fred, again, moving forward, we really don't see anything in those discussions that impacts the annexation and can be worked around in the development process. The first item is the exhibit, which shows the commercial properties along Virginia Avenue with a orange rectangle behind the car sales facility. Now that's the residential. There we go. In doing some of their due diligence on this site, Fred said that in the area that's shown in that rectangle that's two dark orange, two light orange sides to it, it's a wooded area. There's some monitoring wells in that area. And that's associated with the building to the right, as you see it in the exhibit. That is the old Working, I believe it was a terminating business. And for whatever reason, which I don't know the details of, and I don't want to speculate, there are monitoring wells in that rectangular area to the south of their building, which is in the annexation area. The municipal boundary is that brighter orange area. And they were wondering whether or not they should subdivide that off and give it to the owner of the working site, which is actually Ted Reddit Center, owns that site now. And of course, when you talk about getting into subdivisions and all, that's going to slow things down. And what we told Fred is the best thing to do here is, as they move forward in a subdivision, because they're going to be looking at, once the thing's annexed, they're going to be looking to subdivide it pretty quickly, is make this area a non-buildable lot that is accessed only by going through the adjacent Ted Reddit. They can convey it to Ted Reddit. They basically they don't want to deal with it as part of the residential development. I can see why.
Well,
So the idea would be the development plan would come in for the development, and your sketch plan and development plan, and show this area as, if you could, maybe if you could use the cursor, just make sure we're clear on the area where Megan has the cursor now. Where that would end up being a lot, it would not front street. It would be divided on the understanding that it goes with into that former working building, which is again on the other side of the municipal boundary line. So whoever owns Orchid will own Orchid, plus they will own this lot that's in the city with their monitoring wells, with residential zoning that they can't build.
Are these lots connected?
They are adjacent, but they're not connected. The municipal boundary and a property line runs along that interior. Maybe if you can move the cursor just a little bit to your right. Right there, that line there.
Yeah.
That's an existing property line and municipal boundary. Okay,
So we've got part in the city and part in the county, is that what you're saying?
the Orchid site as developed is in the county and it's staying in the county.
Okay,
That's where it says red.
Correct. Ted's is actually across the side road there, but Ted's owns the former Orchid as I understand it. So what would end up happening is the municipal boundary, that bright orange, not dark orange, bright orange, when we annex, it goes away. That would be created, I'm sorry. That would be the new municipal boundary, because everything south of that bright orange is going to come to the city. So the area that has the wells on it, which is adjacent to the Orchid site, which is outside the city limits, will stay outside the city limits, will go to the owner of the Orchid site. But it will be in the city. It will be city residential zone, but not be able to build a house on it anyway, because monitoring wells and point that on the street. And what we'll do is we'll do notes on the sketch plan and on the development plan saying that this area is to go to that and the access is through that area.
so basically those monitoring wells were to monitor any spillage or contaminations from the Orchid.
As I understand it, and again, I don't know if we get into details because I didn't discuss those, but that's
Yeah.
typically what monitoring wells.
Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent anything.
We know that the owner of the Orchid site is going to accept this.
We don't know the answer to that, but really, keep in mind, I want to be really clear, it does not impact the annexation going forward. If not, all of that falls apart, then all that just is part of the residential subdivision, will have to deal with some monitoring wells in the residential subdivision.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. This is what they'd like to do, but if they can't get the owner of the Orchid site to take that square, then they'll have to deal with monitoring wells themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
The next thing
It
is.
does not, and it does, I want to make it also very clear, everything I'm discussing here has absolutely no impact on your recommendations as far as the annexation. The annexation is for the entire tract, not carving any pieces out of it,
Coming in at our lot.
and it's coming in as our model. None of that changes.
But the main thing is that there is going to be anything in the annexation that defines that well is.
No.
What's
Again, this is, I hesitated even bringing this to your attention, to be honest with you. But I thought it affects the downrange development and other things, so I'm letting you know. So let's make sure we compartmentalize yes or no on the annexation and what the zoning is, which is our mod. And what we're talking about here is what could be done with the property down the road after the annexation, when it develops.
My only concern is that it is left undetermined that something far down the future, long after we're gone, could create a situation that shouldn't occur.
It will be addressed one way or another within the year, because they're looking, once they annex it, they're going to be looking to subdivide it. That'll be part of the issue, and they'll have to resolve it one way or the other. Okay. So I'm just letting you know about that, when we get a sketch plan, it's possible we may see that area be carved off, just be given to the adjacent property that is well for monitoring. So,
What is the current zoning of this land in the county?
RU.
And is our mod comparable for RU,
Yes.
so that it doesn't require the county's approval?
that's
for us
correct.
To rezone it to our mod?
That's correct. Yeah. So none of that impacts the annexation moving forward, we're just letting you know. Now, the second item that Fred brought up is a pipe stem on the track to be annexed, where it is it creates a four-way intersection with one of the streets on the west side of Virginia Avenue. It's shown where Megan has the arrow cursor on your screen. They were looking at the possibility of trying to subdivide that off and giving half to each of the two adjacent lot owners, but that would slow them down, going through a subdivision process in the county before they annex. What will happen here when they do their sketch plan is they would show one of two things in order to keep the thing moving. One is that they would show that as separate non-buildable lots dedicated to the adjacent property owners, or that pipestem may just end up remaining part of the open space for the driveway access easement. Again, they were talking about, well, maybe we should hold off and subdivide these off and that pipestem off in the county, but my understanding is the developer wants to move forward. By the time they process the subdivision in the county, we'll probably throw them back 3 months.
So basically, what you've got is you've got a lot there that you can't build on, and neither one of the adjacent houses owns it. Is that? But they use it, is that correct?
They use it, yes. And the developers understandably don't want to upset these people who use that area for their driveway.
Well, they probably have vested rights.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
Freddie even mentioned that.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is as you see, he's showing a new subdivision line down the middle of it, and that's not a lot. It's actually a pipe stem of 115 acres. It's not a dedicated right of way. Fred said they did not find anything in the land record showing that it was actually platted off. Somebody along the line planned this area smartly. They built they subdivided off and built those 3 houses that you see, but they left that pipe stem there because it creates a four-way intersection with the street across the street. So the intent was somewhere along the line, perhaps there's going to be a railroad through there.
Gotcha.
But
This
the
developer's
developer,
not gonna do it.
this developer's not going to use that. No. So what they want to do is they want to make sure that the people who own the houses on either side of it, their interests are protected. And they initially said, well, maybe we need to basically subdivide that off on either side. But that's the process. It's in the county. It would take them a few months to go through that process. And we said, look, we can handle that internally when you do your sketch plan and your development plan. You can just show that either as 2 narrow unbuildable lots to be dedicated to the adjacent property owners, or just leave a part of your open space and do a driveway. So that's just FYI, so that we talk back from that to keep the project moving forward.
I don't know if this is accurate, because these areas drawn, it's hard to see, but it looks like the owner of the property that's on the north side not only uses his half of the strip, but the other half as well.
I think they both, to be honest with you, it looks like there's like a little turnaround island in the middle of it.
Yeah, so I'm not, I don't think sort of dividing them off and giving each one half, they'll still have access, they'll still have easement rights.
Yeah, my guess, the bottom line is it can be handled within the city. They don't need to slow down their annexation, trying to do some sort of county subdivision when we have multiple ways to deal with it as the city subdivides the property.
Looks like the one property on the left side of the way I'm looking at it. I'm not sure whether that shadow there is just foliage or whether that's an actual structure. The one on the left?
There's a house there. It's a lot of
There's a
shadow.
garage. And then in between them where the Z is that an open area? I'm not sure whether that's a building or not.
There's an open area where the number 6 is a garage.
Yes, I saw that, but up from the garage where the little white strip is that goes up towards the orange line, that's open area up there.
All right.
Looks like foliage brush or something.
All right. Now, the last exhibit I want to show you is the one that's an enhancement of the county's zoning map. It shows you where the county's BG zoning is. And apparently they've been having some discussions with some of the adjacent property owners about possibly offering to allow them to have some space to expand their uses in the future. thinking that possibly down the road, again, I want to be very clear, this does not affect annexation, which is Armada. Down the road, it's possible they might come in with a design where they might look to rezone and regularize the commercial zoning district and get some CG on the backs of all this BG. So so there's businesses that are like Ted Bennett Center, there's a bank and a few other things in there, gardens, a nursery or something like that. Farm stand, that they might be able to do a little bit of expanding in the back. And I said, well, if that happens, what will end up happening is you'll have to go through a rezoning process. We can't make any representations on whether or not it'll be approved or not at this point. And also, if that rezoning happens within 5 years of the annexation, the county commissioners have to sign off on it because the zoning of this area in blue is RU, which means it's going to Armada. You're going to change the zoning. The county commissioners have to approve that. So let's say 3 years down the road, they decided they want to try to do this. Before the city could rezone it, that identified area to CG, the county commissioners would have to sign off.
Well,
Because it's within 5 years of the annexation, it's not consistent with the existing zone.
but the part that's in orange color, is that part of the annexation?
No, that's county business zoning, it's state county and business zoning,
And it's BG.
BG.
And now,
Is it, but all the land that's already used, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, what you're looking at is the blue area that's between the orange and the red line.
that's what I was asking them. That's what they want to do is square that off. So those properties will have more area to work with.
Just so we're clear, maybe perhaps down the road at some point, during the development process. Not
Okay.
part of this annexation.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that what they want to do. Okay.
So, but if that was the case, they'd have to, once we're moving forward with the annexation bill with back to Armada zoning, if they were looking to change that to CG to accommodate and allow expansion over the county, commercial, they would have to go through a rezoning process. We could not represent whether or not it would be approved or not. And it's within 5 years, the county commissioners would have to sign off. Again, all of that is background. It came up kind of created a bit of a surprise to us this afternoon as they were talking about maybe the full annexation temporarily. And they were kind of going overboard a bit with how they were reacting to it. I said, no, we can deal with just about all of this as we move forward in the annexation and development process. And that's what we do. So what's in front of you today, as Megan was aptly describing, is the appropriate zoning for the annexation. That's it.
Do we also recommend to the mayor and council whether we believe the annexation is a good idea?
What are the options?
The role is you order approval of the proposed zoning and annexation.
And
I'm not
this-
sure if it's a formal request or not. I know that mayor and council will hear about it for the first time Tuesday. They will be introducing the resolution, approving the plan.
Chris, Tammy, Judy, do you have any questions about this, any of this?
No,
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 So you're looking for a motion to recommend to the mayor and council that the zoning of this land when it comes in the Armada.
And just that you've reviewed and
And recommend.
of the annexation.
And
plan.
also the annexation.
Yeah, annexation plan and proposed zoning.
And you wouldn't make a swear motion with this for the record. You've already seen workshop drawings of how this area will develop. But there's no development plan associated with this annexation. It's just approved.
There's no more questions. Does somebody want to make a motion along those lines?
So the motion would be to execute the annexation with the zoning of Armada. Is that correct?
And approval of the annexation plan.
To recommend to the mayor and council.
Recommend, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Recommend to the mayor and council that the area in question would be annexed and zone Armada.
And approval of the annexation.
That sounds like a motion.
Okay.
second,
You got a second? Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
aye,
Aye.
Heard two ayes from Zoom. Yeah, that's a roll call. Chris,
aye,
Judy,
Aye.
Shelley? She's offline. Tammy?
Aye.
Okay. And
Ron, I mean,
Right.
so who was the second?
somebody's voice on.
Okay.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0. All right, the next item then is the consideration of the local conversion district on Home Street.
Okay, so this is the review of public input for local conversion district overlay at 245 North Potomac Street, filed by OSID Family Trust. You all had a public review meeting on Wednesday, March 30th. So we'll just review the public input, and then you'll make your formal recommendation to the mayor and council regarding the zoning amendment. So again, it's a mixed-use building on the corner of Potomac and Bethel. It's zoned RO, office, has 7 dwelling units and 1 office space with an additional commercial space that's vacant. Applicant is going to keep the units in the office space and then wants to expand permitted commercial uses for that front facing commercial space. To include a bank or credit union, business service, quick printing service, bed and breakfast inn, catering kitchen, retail wholesale trade excluding auto. And applicant proposes removing the vinyl siding on the sides of the commercial front door as part of replacing the door, with the unit consistent with the adjacent display windows. They also mentioned on the application, installing security cameras and ambient front lighting. And then the planning commission did also discuss possible landscaping in the front just to break up the concrete pad. And then also the combination of the lots to ensure that the parking stays with the building into the future. And then we have received some public input, which I put in the packet. We got an email from Michael J. Amantry at 329 Potomac Street. Basically is concerned with the approval of a retail establishment or convenience store, says there could be unintended consequences for the neighborhood. And I guess his specific concerns involve trespassing, littering, drug use, and prostitution, in his words. And he says the public needs to have a clear explanation of how the government plans to control the area, how the business plans to abate potential adverse issues, and mentions that it's a highly traveled thoroughfare, with freeway entryways, so physical conditions are a direct reflection on the city. And I also received an additional public input from Leslie Allen. Let me pull up. But she essentially echoed those exact same concerns about the convenience store and the safety issues associated with that type of use. So both are neighbors of the property, both have the same concerns.
I do know that the applicant said that they were not considering catering or restaurant. So
That was for Eklund. That was struck from the Eklund case, is the different case.
well, I don't know my notes from.
Oh, he did as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I brought that up because I asked them if they needed any dedicated loading zone, if you remember.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the list of uses, there's
Strike the catering kitchen from the use. Okay.
catering and restaurant. I don't know if we said, talked about kitchen per se, but.
Yeah, it was involved, having it for, like, prepare here, to
Oh,
take
yeah,
out,
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Right, so they're not gonna do cooking either for on service or
Right.
on premises or off premises.
Yeah, so your recommendation to mayor and council would include also the fact that you all want him to combine the lot that the building sits on, with the lot next door, parking, combine 2 lots, parking space in the building. And then I don't know if you want to make any specific, conditions about the landscaping.
Well, we talked about landscaping, but now, do they have to do a site plan? That's more likely to come up with site plan. isn't it?
If we position the problem with the site plan is only going to do two things. It's going to comply with what's in our ordinance currently, which in this case, nothing. Or it's going to implement any conditions set by the mayor and council. So if nothing is specifically called for by this body of recommendation and or the mayor and council in their final decision, at the end of we negotiated the site plan that's going to be negotiated. Force them essentially to.
I mean, I remember they did talk about making some changes in the landscaping, but honestly, I did not take notes about that.
I think they were, I remember the applicant being open to the possibility that you might attach that condition onto the rezoning, approval of the rezoning.
There was some talk also about cutting up some of the concrete in front of the building and providing some type of shrubbery or something there.
Planters.
And I think even in the piece that you gave us, the Historical Society said they'd like to see a lot of that concrete removed also.
Yeah, I think the HTC memo actually included, I'm not sure actually if the memo included, but I know we discussed it with them at the meeting. Yeah, it says, they talked about obviously restoring the commercial storefront, double doors. And then, yeah, it says, given the expanse of the paving in front of the building, historic district commission suggests some attention be paid to the space to break up the expanse, perhaps by finding a way to install some landscaping, breaking up the mass of the paved area. So yeah, they did, I guess. About that.
One thing that you might want to do is make a recommendation that some landscaping be agreed upon with the planning commission at the site plan stage.
That sounds like a good idea, because it's gonna be hard for us to come up with a whole set of things to do without any notion of a drawing that shows what it's gonna look like.
Agreed. And anything that you say now, you're kind of, would be kind of guesswork, saying, well, do this or do that. But at least if you have something on record as a condition that it will be addressed at the site plan stage, subject to the approval of the planning commission, that gives you the leverage to go into negotiation.
Yeah.
I remember one of the specific things we talked about was, I guess, trying to think of the word they used, where the concrete comes to the building, it drops back, edging them up. That big slab that's in front of the building, bringing it out closer to where the actual sidewalk was, as far as doing any landscaping or whatever.
And there was, if I remember correctly, there was discussion about maybe doing raised beds rather than pulling up the concrete, doing raised beds, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's it.
There's any number of ways that could be addressed. Probably the best way to handle it is if you would recommend a condition that the front, that landscaping be installed in the front of the building to the satisfaction of the planning commission and the site plan, agreed upon at the site plan.
That would be an easier way to do it, with the raised beds, because.
Well,
yeah,
I'm saying just even as a general statement, worry about figuring out the raised beds or pulling up concrete.
right, whichever way, in other words.
And then the other thing is, I heard you read what the HGC recommended. It sounds like we would want to incorporate their recommendation. I mean, it may seem to make sense.
Yeah, I think they're just the same as you all as far as restoring that commercial storefront, which is, I think, required by the ordinance anyways. So there's that, and then there was also, we did discuss with them the parking lot and the combination of the lot situation.
Yes.
I don't think that was included in the memo, but we did discuss that with them. But yeah, I think the landscaping was their main recommendation.
The memo says, given the expanse of the paving in front of the building, the historic district commission suggests some attention be paid to this space to break up this expanse, perhaps by finding a way to install some landscaping in this area, breaking up the mass of the paved area. So they were generalizing.
Right, yeah.
I think everybody's in agreement, something needs to be done here, rather than just having concrete from the front door to the curb.
And we better in some sense if the applicant came in, took that general guidance, and came in, site plan time, with some ideas that we could look at.
Yeah, we was open to that. We discussed it with them. So yeah, I guess the motion would just include your recommendation, mayor and council, to approve the zoning overlay combine the adjacent lot next door to ensure parking stays at the building, and then to, I guess, require landscaping be discussed at site plan stage. I
Okay.
don't know how you want to word that.
Landscaping to the satisfaction of the planning commission be submitted and approved at the site plan stage.
You can put that all down on paper, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is that we recommend that the condition attached are they combine the two lots. They, what else about the parking area?
Yeah, combine the two lots so that the parking stays at the building.
Yes.
And that we ask them to make changes in the landscape to our satisfaction, to kind of break up the mess of concrete.
To the front of the building.
And I don't know if
That's a requirement of the ordinance. I don't think we necessarily need a condition on that. If you want to make it. a condition,
No, I
fine, but
don't think so.
What's that?
Replacing that front door with a full double glass door.
They already have all those specs in here.
Yeah.
So I think they plan on doing that. In fact, they recommended that, not recommended, indicated they want to do that.
Okay, so do we have, is the motion rolled off the five? For your point of view?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Judy.
Judy, second.
Judy seconds.
2 seconds.
Is there any further discussion of this motion? Okay, then, okay. All right, roll call, Judy,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Tammy,
Aye.
Ron,
I,
and I.
It's shown back.
She was staying.
Sure, that's for sure.
Okay, so the motion carries 5-1. Is that it?
That is it.
All right, then I guess we will go.
Come out, folks.